Just waiting for Trudy to come on.
All right.
There she is.
Here we go.
There she is.
I'm pumped.
All right. You're pumped? All right.
I'm pumped.
I like those earrings.
I like them too.
That's nice. Oh, wait a second. You know what? I was supposed to try to pull this up on Facebook too. So we'll try to do that so we can make sure that we get our Facebook people involved. So let me pull this up on Facebook.
All right.
It's going to be a good conversation, everybody. Those of you who've been kind of following me for the last little while, you know I've been doing this Facebook Live for a long time now. And I started these sessions called, hey, Felipe. I started these sessions called Let's Talk with Coach Stone. And I've been bringing you guys conversations that I have with, you know, friends and you know, people that I kind of connect with all the time. And so I thought today, you know, I had to bring you guys somebody really, really special. So today, I had to bring you guys a culinary nutritionist. She's a TV guest expert. She's a podcast host. She's an author. What else? She does so many things, everybody. But the most important role, and this is the most important role that she plays, she's my wife. So everybody, welcome Trudy Stone to Let's Talk with Coach Stone. Welcome, baby. How are you?
I am amazing now that I got my coffee and my very special mug that my hubby bought me. If you guys can see that, it says, "Good morning, beautiful."
Tell them what I do. Tell them. Listen. All right, everybody. I'm going to tell you guys, this is going to be a ride. This conversation is going to be, what up? My brother's in here. Manny Boy Spitting. What's going on? Listen. All right. So we're going to get into this conversation. And where do you want to start? Let's start with telling everybody what you do. Tell everybody what you do. Then we'll backtrack. We'll jump. Guys, we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about following your goals. We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff. And you guys chime in, ask questions. It's going to be a fun, exciting time. I hope you have your pen and paper ready, your favorite beverage. I needed to get this because I know it's going to be a crazy conversation. Got my beer here because I never know what she's going to say. I never know. So let's get into it. Tell everybody about like what you do, babe, and then we'll talk about your journey and how you got here and all that kind of stuff.
Oh my God, what don't I do? That's probably the easier question to answer right now. Who remembers that show In Living Color? And remember that family called Hey Mom? Remember that? It was like the Hey Mom segment, and like everybody in the family had like 20 jobs. Yeah, that's me. I'm the adopted child from that family.
That's crazy.
Look, first of all, right off the bat, I don't just draw on my eyebrows for anybody. So if I'm drawing on my eyebrows for you during quarantine, you are pretty special. So you should feel good about that.
See what I'm saying? You guys see what I got to deal with? Oh my gosh.
All right, so what do I do? So I am a certified culinary nutritionist. And all that really means, because people are like, ooh, what does that mean? What that really means is that I am certified in the therapeutic properties of foods and how to use those foods to prevent and treat illness. Okay, so I'm trying to just help you out there living and eating healthier. I don't believe that healthy eating should be complicated. I do believe it should be fun, fast, and flavorful. Those are my 3 F's. I'm also a podcast host of the Mind Your Body show, which started, I don't know, maybe how many weeks ago? 6 weeks ago now, I think. So that's been exciting. What else do I do? I'm a speaker. I do one-on-one consultations for people, and I'm sure there's something in there that I'm forgetting, but yeah. I'm also the founder. I also have to say, I'm also the founder of the Mind Your Body Bootcamp, which is launching on Monday. And that is all about how to unlock the 3 habits so that you can unlock the body you've always wanted.
Yeah. No, this is crazy. So I love that. Like she does all kinds of things. So everybody, you know, I want you guys to kind of welcome Trudy. And so Trudy, talk a little bit about like your journey into entrepreneurship. Like, how did you get started? Let people know what you were doing before and all that kind of stuff.
My journey into entrepreneurship was a long and windy road. But Danny was at the start of that road. So he is instrumental in my entrepreneurship journey. And quite honestly, if I didn't have Danny in my life and if I didn't meet Danny, I probably would not have been an entrepreneur, right? Because I only started to become interested in entrepreneurship when, you know, I met Danny, and Danny had his own company. And I thought, oh my God, entrepreneur, like, what is that all about? So basically, I was an executive assistant. I was an executive assistant for like, I don't know, 12, 13 years. And I used to support CEOs, CFOs, that sort of thing. So C-suite executives. I was really, really good at it. I was kick-ass, if I do say so myself. And I was doing really well at it. And I loved the companies that I've worked for. I worked for amazing companies like Starbucks. I worked at McDonald's head office. I worked at Nestle. I worked at Boston Consulting Group. Amazing, wonderful, very profitable companies. But I always felt that there was something that was missing. Okay. Right. The people I always worked with are great, but I just felt like I needed to make more of an impact. And then that's when I started to kind of really get that entrepreneurship itch. So my first business actually was owning a cupcake company, which some of you guys might remember, Sublime Creations. I don't know who remembers that.
I love the cupcakes.
So essentially, I went around. It was like a mobile cupcake bar. I would go around to people's houses for different events, like housewarming parties, birthday parties. I would set up a cupcake bar, and I would come with like naked cupcakes. And I wasn't naked; the cupcakes were. And oh my God, I look naked now. I'm wearing a shirt, I promise. So anyways, I would set up these naked cupcakes, and then people would decorate them, right? So it was a hit. I was doing malls. I would do, you know, these programs in malls as well. And I would have like hundreds of kids at like Easter and that sort of thing doing this. But, you know, it got to a point where, of course, I had to be taste testing these cupcakes all the time. And I was gaining more and more weight. And my, you know, the love of my life had proposed to me. And I was like, look, I can't walk down the aisle looking like this. Like, I got to get my ish together, right? So I walked away from the cupcake company. And that was a hard decision for me to make because I loved doing it. But at that point, I knew that there was something more for me to be doing. So as I was learning about all the different things to help me to, you know, lose weight and eat healthier, the more things that I learned was the more that I wanted to know. And I was also learning some really scary things about the food industry, the weight loss industry, low-fat foods. Hey, Kurt, I see you. Low-fat foods, all these different things, and the havoc that a lot of these foods were wreaking on people's bodies. And I knew I couldn't keep this to myself. I knew I had to spread this knowledge to other people. I don't believe in being selfish with knowledge. If anybody asks me questions about anything, I'm always so happy to give. And that's the same way that I felt about nutrition. So then I decided to become a nutritionist, and here I am.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it is a journey. And I think there's a lesson here too, because sometimes when we think that we're going to leave our job and start a business, and what happens is we jump into something, and if it doesn't work out, then you say, I guess I'm not meant to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
And what that might mean is that you just chose the wrong thing. That, you know, I tried so many things before I found coaching and my love for helping people, you know, turn their passion into profit, right? But I tried all kinds of things. And I think that's a good lesson. Trudy started with like a cupcake business and she loved it, but then she transitioned into nutrition because she realized that she was more passionate about that. And I think that's a good lesson for everybody. Like, if you try something that doesn't work, it's okay to try something else and something else and something else.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, you know, a lot of people get caught up with their thoughts. And Danny and I were talking about this a little bit earlier because I had a challenge in my business. So right now I'm learning a whole bunch of new systems for my business. It's been very, very frustrating. So we talked about, you know, the importance of thoughts, and your thoughts lead to your feelings, which leads to your actions. And it all starts with a thought. Okay,
Yes.
so let's say you start a business, and like Danny said, maybe the business didn't work out. You think, oh my God, this business didn't work out. I'm a failure. I'm a loser. I knew this wouldn't work out, right? And then how do you feel, right? Then you start feeling down. You start feeling depressed. Maybe you start taking that out on other people around you, right? And then what does that lead to? What behavior does that lead to? Now that leads to you never wanting to try starting a business again because you failed at it. So you think you're always going to fail at it, right? And then you get stuck and you get stagnant. So we really have to be mindful of our thoughts. It all starts with the thoughts. So you have to just kind of find a way to just kind of rewire your brain and just stop those thoughts in the tracks so that you don't become your thoughts.
I love it. And I think, you know, it's really a practice, right? It's a lot of people think that you can just wake up confident, and it takes a lot of work to love yourself and to be confident. And Trudy and I talk about this all the time. Like, we both have our morning rituals, the way that we wake up. Trudy loves to read and she likes to like ease her way in. I have my morning ritual with meditation and mindset. And, you know, I think a lot of us sometimes, especially when you're in a relationship, you put so much on your partner. Like you expect your partner to be your happiness and
Yes.
to be, you know, be that champion all the time. Sometimes they just have to step back and let you figure it out for yourself. And her and I get into this all the time because, you know, sometimes I'll see her struggling or she'll see me doing something, and instead of us always coming to each other's rescue, we just sometimes give each other space to figure it out. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. You said something there, and I was going to add to that, and I can't remember what it was. It was good, too.
It's always good. What are you talking about? It's always good. Listen, guys, it's always good. Come on.
I know. Okay, so I was gonna say, so you talked about the morning kind of, you know, ritual and that sort of thing. So I was gonna say, so Danny is spot on with the meditation, because the best time to meditate is first thing in the morning. That is when your brain is the most receptive. Okay, and there's 2 times a day where people feel their lowest. It's when they wake up and when they go to bed at night. Okay, or before they go to bed at night. Okay, and Violet taught me this, and I love Ed Milet. He's a personal development coach. He's amazing. Look up his stuff. But yeah, so the 2 times a day where people feel the most lack of self-confidence is when they wake up and before they go to bed, right? So we need to do something each and every morning where we're setting ourselves up for success. All right, so we have those victory thoughts. So when we wake up, sometimes we have thoughts like, oh my God, here we go. It's another day. Oh, what am I going to do with my kids today? I got to homeschool them. Oh my God, when am I going to get a chance to go back to work? Like, oh my God, when is COVID going to be over? Like, we're always waiting for some sort of external circumstance to make ourselves happy, right? And it starts first thing in the morning with you, okay? You have to set your thoughts up for success first thing in the morning. So meditating is a great way to do that. Reading, I always read some sort of personal development book in the morning. I love Joe Dispenza. If you've ever heard of the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, this is in line with a lot of what we're talking about right now. But yes, that's what I wanted to say.
Well, okay, that's good. You can interrupt me for nuggets like that. Thank you. Guys, listen, so one of the things that, you know, I really kind of have learned about myself is, you know, at one point when Trudy was working, she was working her full-time job as an assistant, and I was working in the corporate world, and I had my part-time hustle on the side. And what would happen is I'd work 10 hours a day or 11 at my job, come home and work another 8 or 9 hours on the business. Like I was putting in like 20, 18 hours a day, and Trudy can tell you this. And what was interesting was that she didn't really understand it. At some point, she's like, man, why are you working so crazy? Like, you're working all these hours. And she used to get on me about it. And I would just say, like, once you're an entrepreneur, I said, listen, once you're an entrepreneur, you'll understand how hard you have to work in your business. And then what happened once you became a business owner and you started your business? What happened?
I was making cupcakes until 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah, and not at home, because I actually used to rent like an industrial kitchen. So I'd be at this industrial kitchen until like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, because I would do shows, like baking shows and that sort of thing. And I was up until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning baking freaking cupcakes.
Right. And that's the thing. Like a lot of people think that you can just start a business and you kind of just chill. It's like they think you work less hours than you were working at your job. And that's not the case. Initially, especially not for the first 2 to 4 years. Like you have to grind, you got to hustle, you got to be out there making contacts. You got to be doing all these things to grow your business. You got to learn systems. You got to, you know, hire, you know, virtual assistants and all of these things. So, you know, the first couple of years of your business, you got to put in a lot of time. And your partner has to understand that if they're not a business person.
Right.
And I think that that's something really important, because once you find something that you absolutely love to do, it's difficult for somebody to get in the way of that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm lucky that Trudy's on board with me out here trying to help people turn their passion into profit and make a greater impact in the world. But if she wasn't, then that would be a very difficult conversation. And I know that's the case for some people. Like I've talked to people who have said, you know, my wife's not on board, or my husband's not on my board, or my boyfriend or girlfriend, or my mother or father. Like, what kind of advice would you give to those type of people?
I would just say, keep doing what you're doing. Let your success speak for you, right? That's what you have to do. And you just have to be, actually, what I was going to say was, when I was reaching, and you kind of sound like my eye going like that, I was reaching for this. I don't know if you guys can see this quote, But like I said, I'm very intentional about the way that I start my day. So this quote here from this calendar that I'm in love with, other than Danny, of course, is it says the only failure is quitting. Everything else is just gathering information.
Yeah.
I'll say that again. The only failure is quitting. Everything else is just gathering information. So if you ever try something and you're not successful at it, that's okay. Just tell yourself, you know what? I'm just gathering information.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It all starts with the mind, and you have to continually work at it and train it. And I don't have this shit all figured. Could I say that word? I don't have
whatever you want.
I don't have it all figured out. It's a practice. Okay, it's a practice for everybody. It's a practice for Oprah. It's a practice for Tony Robbins. It's a practice for all of these people. You don't just have it. You have to keep practicing it, right?
Yeah. I think that's great because, and the other thing is that, I think sometimes we sugarcoat failure. Like I see a lot of people now not wanting to call something a failure. They don't want to use the word. And if you look at champions, if you look at people who are highly successful, if you look at people who are winners, they will tell you that they lost. They're not going to sugarcoat it, right? And so for me, if I fail, I fail. I'm going to say I failed. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means you failed at something. And like Trudy said, a fail is just you gathering information. And so I think we have to like put that into context because sometimes we're afraid of that F word, failure. And it's almost like, I think a lot of us, I was having this conversation with some people, we have this school mentality, right? You need to get A's and everything. You need to get B's and everything. And we equate that to life. And so an F in school means like, I can no longer continue. I failed. I'm not good in that subject. And then we bring that over to our life and we're like, a failure at me trying to achieve something means I'm no good. I can't move forward and whatever. And so I like that you said that a failure is just gathering information because it's important for all of us to know that. It's okay to go out there, to try something, to not be successful, to take that information and turn around and use it in a different way in other areas of your life or to figure it out the next time.
Right. It's so true. And actually, that was the whole topic of my podcast episode this week. It's, what to do. And I just have to look it up here, why you failed at dieting and what to do instead. And I say failed at dieting in quotation marks because no one ever really fails at dieting or eating healthy, right? I'm guaranteeing that if you did go on a diet, if you've been on diets multiple times, you probably learned something about yourself or about healthy eating or about dieting along the way. So if you've learned something along the way, then it can't be a failure, right? Again, it's all just gathering information.
So talk a little bit about your podcast. Let them know what the podcast is all about.
Again, the podcast is called The Mind Your Body Show. And essentially the podcast is all about how to get your mind right so that your body will follow. And again, like I talked about at the beginning, your thoughts lead to your feelings, which lead to your actions, right? And a lot of us have what's called deceptive thoughts or deceptive messages. And again, these are the messages that we keep, they're essentially negative thoughts that keep just on repeat over and over and over again in our mind that set us up to fail because we believe those thoughts. Those thoughts are just things. We just believe them. Okay, they're not true. Just because you have that thought, it doesn't mean that it's true, right? So that's essentially what the podcast is about. It's all about getting your mind right so that your body will follow. Because when I work with my clients, it's their thoughts that are really sabotaging them. A lot of times people know what to do when it comes to, especially when it comes to eating healthier. A lot of people know what to do, right? But it's their mindset that sets them up for failure. Even some people that signed up for my boot camp that I'm starting on Monday, some people DM me and said, you know what, look, I'm afraid. Like, I failed at dieting so many times before. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have what it takes. And I said, see that right there? That's why you need to be in the boot camp because that's exactly what we're going to work on and we're going to help you to work past that.
Yeah, I love that. I actually said, love your wife, Danny. Hi, Trudy.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Everybody, if you guys have questions for us about health, wellness, relationships, business, definitely ask your questions here. We'll be answering your questions. Trudy, where did your love for health and wellness come about? Like, was it a specific incident? Was it your childhood? Like, where did that love for health and wellness and healthy eating come from?
I met a fine ass man and I wanted to walk down the aisle and sashay and meet him. I was like, I body right.
That's me. That's me. That's right.
That's him, by the way. That's him.
Tell him.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, that's where it started because you know, I'd always struggled with weight throughout my life. I've never been somebody that's skinny. I'm still not, I don't think I'm skinny. Some people will look at me and say I'm skinny. I'm absolutely not skinny. Okay. I'm not a size 2 or anything like that, but I've always struggled with weight all of my life. Right. And then when I was about to get married, I knew that I wanted to lose weight again because I had gained a whole lot of weight because I was doing a lot in my life at that time. We had done, like, I guess we went through kind of like a merger at work, and like the size of the team that I was supporting like doubled overnight. So it was like went from 25 to like 50 people. The person that I was reporting to now became the president of the company. So there was a lot going on. I was planning a charity event for one of the largest charity events in the city. I was going to school part-time as well. So I was going to school until like 9, 10 o'clock at night. So there was a lot going on. So I was gaining weight. And I knew I wanted to lose weight, but I said, you know what? I don't want to just keep losing it for an occasion and then gaining it back like I always did before in the past. I said, no, I'm going to get this shit right. Like, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to keep it off this time. So I did a lot of studying, and I looked at what was working for people in the industry and like, you know, looking at different results that a lot of the weight loss experts were getting. And I started to apply these things on myself. And then that's when I started to lose weight. But the thing that made this time different was that it was just a lot easier, because I was also building healthy habits along the way. So it wasn't even really a diet. It became more of just like a lifestyle. And I just started to just live, breathe, and eat it, right? Without even really thinking about it so much. So that's why I talk about that in my book, which is all the way up here. I don't know why it's there, but yeah, here it is here. So that's what I talk about in my book. You know, the 7 habits that I use to lose weight and keep it off, because really it did come down to habits. And like I said earlier, I just became so passionate about all of the things that I was learning and all of the mistakes that so many women are making that I myself was making at that time. And I thought, no. This can't continue, because companies are making billions upon billions of dollars after you, manipulating your taste buds to have you keep coming back for more for certain foods that you think are healthy, that you think are diet foods. And when I found this stuff out, I was like, no, this can't continue. We're putting so much money into getting people to buy food and consume food, but we're not really putting any money into health and wellness and helping people to live and eat healthier, helping people to, you know, minimize their odds of obesity. So I became, as you can see, I became really passionate. And
she loves this.
And yeah, that's kind of how I got into health and wellness.
Guys, she loves health and wellness. And one thing about Trudy is she loves to read, she loves to research. And so when she latches on to something, she goes all in. And she became a culinary nutritionist and really started focusing on food and food as medicine and how to lose weight and how to live healthier through food. And because of that, like, she really helped me. Like, I wasn't like the most unhealthy person, but I wasn't the most, hey, no, I wasn't. Don't try it. I wasn't the most unhealthy person, but I wasn't like the healthiest person either. And you know, I cook. I grew up cooking and all of that kind of stuff. But, you know, one of the things that Trudy really helped me with is like really just eating the right foods at the right time, you know, letting me know that other types of food could taste good. Like, I never thought that I would like a sweet potato burger, right? I never thought that I would like cauliflower tacos, but I do, right? So
kombucha, I used to drink that all the time, and you used to be like, ooh, why did you drink that for? That's
Yeah, I wasn't with it.
I put my kombucha in the fridge and it's gone because Daddy drinks it off.
I like kombucha now. Jill said, health is the most important thing in life. I completely agree, Jill. And I think what happens is when it comes to like life, or it comes to work or a business, we hustle. Like, we hustle hard, and we focus on what we're doing and trying to do all these different things. And in doing all of that, we suffer. Our health suffers, our mental health, our physical health. So we're putting everything else ahead of our mental, physical, and spiritual health. But when you're at your best, when you take care of yourself, you can be at your best for everybody else, right? And that's one of the things that you talk a lot about, True.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out to Jill. She's super supportive.
Yeah.
I always hear her messages and her hearts and her comments. So I really appreciate that.
Jill's great. Jill's awesome. So, babe, why don't you tell them about, you know, that you said that, you know, it was all these things that were going on that really wanted you to kind of change your lifestyle and stuff like that. But tell them about that one incident that happened with the button, and, you know, they need to hear this. This is where, tell them that story.
Okay, I'll tell you the story. So I was at work one day. So this is along, you know, the weight loss journey. Actually, this is before the weight loss journey. This was kind of like the breaking point where I knew I had to do something. Okay, so Oh my God, this is so embarrassing. How about you guys just pick up my book? I talk about it in the book. You can just read it in there. Deal?
No.
Just joking, just joking, just joking. So this is what happened. This is my breaking point. So I was at work one day. I had just got out of a meeting, right? So decided to go use the bathroom before I had to go into my next meeting. So I'm walking into the bathroom. Me and my coworker were kind of chatting on the way to the bathroom because we just got out of the meeting together. Go into the bathroom. You know, she goes in her stall, does her thing. I go in my stall, do my thing. I'm in the stall. You know, we're still kind of chatting back and forth because I hate those awkward. You guys ever have those awkward washroom chats when you're at work? Like you get out of a meeting and now you guys are in the bathroom together and now you're talking. It's like I feel like once we go on the stall, we go our separate ways. Like that's it. But anyways, she continued talking to me. I was like, all right, girl. So we continued talking back and forth at the stalls, and I'm trying to like button up my pants and it's a little snug. You know, just feeling a little snug. And I kept blaming it on the dryer. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with the dryers in our building. We need to get these dryers fixed because I keep shrinking my pants. I blame everyone that the pants are shrinking except for myself. Anywho, I'm in the bathroom stall. I'm buttoning up, trying to get the button to kind of meet with the hole, struggling a little bit, and the button flew off. And it rolled right into the stall next to me where my phone was. And you know, like when you drop like a coin, like you drop like a nickel or a dime, and you know when it just keeps spinning and spinning, you're like, when is it gonna stop so I can pick it up? That was my button. Okay. Embarrassing me like this. What? Now you're gonna have people talking about me at the water cooler and shit. So that's what happened, and that was my breaking point. And that's when I decided right then and there, I wasn't gonna blame the dryer anymore. I wasn't gonna buy bigger pants. I wasn't gonna buy any more stretchy pants. I was like, I need to figure my shit out and get this done once and for all. And so that's kind of what my breaking point was.
Man, that's embarrassing. Your button popped off your pants at work, and like what did you do after that? Like, how did you pin your pants up so they stayed on? Like, what happened? That's embarrassing.
Well, luckily I had a shirt that kind of went over my pants. If I didn't, I would have been screwed. But luckily I had a shirt that kind of went over my pants, so it was okay, and I kind of made it out. But then I would always keep like different like shawls and stuff at like in sweaters like at my office too. So I would have had some sort of backup, but like it was just embarrassing that she was there, and I was like, okay, well now what? Like, do I wait and like maybe just let her leave the bathroom first so I don't have to face her, or do I try to get out of the bathroom before her? It was like this whole thing. I was so like. I was mortified.
What's up, Syed? My boy Syed's tuning in from Kenya. Syed from Kenya. Louis in here. Mackie, what's going on? Juds, my Tanya, Kurt. We got a lot of people in here. Thank you guys for joining. So Trudy and I are just talking about all kinds of things, business, life, and so on. So, so Trudy, like, when did you realize that? Yeah, my boy Syed. When did you kind of realize, like that you wanted more out of life? Like, was there a point in life where you were just kind of going along, living life in the middle, like, and then you were just like, there has to be more than this? Like, was there ever a time like that for you? I mean, before you met me, obviously that was probably your whole life, but
truthfully, I always knew I wanted more out of life. I always knew that. And that had a lot to do with the way that I was raised. And I'm going to try not to get emotional here as I talk about it.
It's okay.
I talk about it in my book as well, but it has a lot to do with the way that I was raised. My mom was an incredible, is an incredible mom. But at that time, like, she was amazing. Like, single mom, raising 3 kids. I have 2 older sisters. My mom was a nurse, so she was working double shifts just to support us. So she would work from 7 to 3, and then she would work another shift at another place from 3 to 11.
Wow.
Yeah, so my mom was like, she was doing that pretty much every day for years. My mom sacrificed a lot for me, and she worked so hard. And when I saw that, I always said to myself, there's gotta be more. There's gotta be more to life than this. Like, I don't want to have to work that hard. Right. Dad wasn't there. So that's when my mom had to, really make sure that she was, doing everything that she could to put food on the table for us and that sort of thing. Because my dad, had left. But yeah, I always looked at that and I always knew that I wanted more. I always knew that I didn't want to have to work that hard. And if I did happen to work that hard, I wanted to make sure that I was working for myself. So I think maybe in the back of my mind, I still had an idea that, maybe I could potentially start a business one day. But it didn't really start to really unfold until I saw Danny doing it. And there was somebody in my life that was actually doing it and doing it really well, that it was something that I knew I wanted to pursue further.
Yeah. And, I think I was raised by My mom was a single mom at times, and I'm the oldest of three. And, you know, again, like seeing my mom work so hard, and, you know, we grew up in low income housing and all that kind of stuff, but my mom did everything she could to provide for us. And, you know, seeing all of that, I realized, like, I don't want to struggle like my mom. I didn't want to struggle, you know, to like my mom. She did everything that she could, but it was a struggle and a challenge. And for me, I've always had two jobs. I've always had a job and a business on the side, probably since I was 18 or 19. And I think it was just that insecurity about, like, sometimes we just never had enough. And I just never wanted to be in that situation. And once I realized that, like, I could start a side hustle or a business, and that I was in control of growing that and making money, that's when I really just latched onto that whole idea of being an entrepreneur. Because I've always been a hustler. I've always been somebody who's out there doing all of these different things to bring in money.
Right.
So I can kind of, you know, we have that in common, both coming from, you know, single moms who worked really hard to provide for us. And I think that has a lot to do with, you know, who we are. Jill said, struggling is very motivating. You do great things. I completely agree, Jill. I think a lot of us who have faced some type of adversity, especially when we were young or younger as kids, when you face that adversity, it does something for you. It either makes you stronger, or you're just so reserved. But, you know, for a lot of us who go through those challenges when we're a kid, whether it's you're struggling financially, or you see turmoil in your family, in your parents' relationship, that really molds us and helps us to think about what we want in the future. So, like, with your dad being gone, Trudy, and your mom being a single mom, like, what was your whole kind of perception around relationships and marriage and all that stuff?
Again, like, I always knew that I wanted more. Like, you know, it kind of had the opposite effect. Like, I think some people would look at, like, their parents having a failed marriage and be like, okay, I'm never going to get married because marriages don't work. And there's a lot of
Right.
people who look at it that way, but I looked at it the opposite way. I thought, you know, I'm going to make sure that I don't end up in the same sort of relationship and marriage that my parents did. And I saw the way that they, you know, bickered. I saw the way that their relationship kind of dissolved. And as a child, I was very, very aware of that. So
Right.
I always thought that there were certain, it's not that I had like a laundry list, but I always knew certain characteristics that were very important for me to have in a partner. And of course, the first one was definitely communication. Yeah, and I didn't look at that and think, okay, because my parents' marriage failed, then, you know, my marriage is always going to fail, or my marriage is destined to fail. It made me actually more excited to find a partner that I could share the rest of my life with and have a really amazing relationship with. And I have that with Danny, and I'm so thankful for that. And the other thing is, you know, with my dad, what I did say about my dad was that actually my dad, and who knows, maybe this could have been stuff that was going on with my parents at the time, but oh my God, I'm spilling all the tea. This is like a confessional right now. Jeez. Uh, but the other thing about my dad was that what I did say was he was an entrepreneur. So he was an entrepreneur, but his business was not successful, and he failed in his business. So I also could have looked at that and been like, okay, well, my dad had a business, it didn't work out, so I don't want to go down that road. You know, it didn't work for him, it's not going to work for me. But again, that just made me more hungry. That just gave me more drive to really succeed at that. And my mom had issues with that as well, like seeing kind of what happened with my dad, and then looking at me. And when I decided to quit my job, I had an amazing job. I was making a lot of money. I was, you know, I had benefits. I had everything. Like this company that I was working for had, like, you know, 5 different types of like nut milk in the fridge. Like they were making bank, right?
Yeah.
And when I quit, my mom was like, "Are you kidding me? You quit it to start, like, you quit to start your own business?" And I said, "Well, yeah, because I know I'm here to do more. Like I'm really good at my job, but I know I'm here to serve. I know I'm here to make an impact and do more. And I can't do that sitting in this cubicle. I can't help save people's lives essentially by, you know, helping them with their healthy eating by sitting in this cubicle." And when I was making a whole lot, and I know I'm going off on a tangent here, just
It's
another
okay.
when I was making a lot of, you know, I would always eat healthy and I bring my lunches to work like every single day, right? And a lot of people in that environment did not bring their lunches to work at all. So people would see me in the kitchen, like assembling my little lunch, you know, heating it up, and they're like, "Oh my God, like, what do you have today?" Like, so people just became so intrigued. So I was always giving out like health tips and nutrition tips, and I was like, why am I here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Doing full time and helping more people in a bigger way. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And you know what? I think this is really important, because this really goes to show how, you know, the universe or God or whatever you believe in is leaving clues for you, right? And it's all about perception. And are you open to those clues, right? So think about what Trudy just said. Her mom was a single mom. Her dad took off, but he was a business owner, right? That's the first clue. Maybe you should be in business, right? And she could have looked at that like, I never want to be nothing like him. I would never start a business. His business failed, so I don't want to be like that. But it's all about perception, right? And then what did she say? She was working in the corporate world, and she was always bringing her lunches and healthy lunches and giving people advice of health and wellness advice. So you see how like sometimes clues just come to us, but they just go by us because we're not open to seeing them, right? That's two big things. And guess what she does now? She has her own business where she does health and wellness and nutrition, right? You see how those clues get dropped on us, but we just kind of miss them sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's because sometimes we're focused on the path that we think that we should go.
Right.
Right? Like when your mom said, oh, you're going to start your own business. That's crazy. Right? I've had so many people say that to me too. I was working in the corporate world making pretty good money. Trudy can tell you. And then all of a sudden one day I said, I quit. And people are like, what are you doing? Like, quit. Like, where are you going? And a lot of people didn't believe in me. But what I knew was, here was the clues. Here's the clues for me. I always have been in the people development, people helping business. I used to do youth programs. I was a career coach. And so I always knew that eventually I would do something in that field. So I honed in on the clues. And so some of you might have to tap into those clues. Go back and think about some of the things that have been happening in your life. You know, was there a clue there? Was that a clue that you maybe should have started your own business? Maybe looked at a different line of business? Maybe pursued a relationship, right? Sometimes we have to have the discipline to follow our curiosity. Trudy loves this one. She actually said that to me today.
I did.
Was like, oh, she actually listens.
Sometimes.
But I think it's really important that we have the discipline to follow our curiosity. If you feel like you're being pulled towards something, whether it's like travel to a certain place, research something, start a business, switch jobs, whatever that curiosity is, and you keep getting called to do it, then you have to answer the call. And that's kind of what Trudy did with her business. You know, now she has her podcast. She wrote a book. Now she's on TV. I remember like she was terrified to be on TV. Trudy was like, I don't want to be on TV. I don't want to do all these things. And then all of a sudden she got, her first TV appearance, and she was nervous, and then she killed it. What was your first TV appearance? Was that CP20?
I think it was CP24. I think it was CP24, and it was talking about like foods for energy or something like that. I think it was. Yeah.
And like, so talk a little bit about like doing things scared. Like, I mean, everything that you've done, from writing a book to being on TV to, you know, starting your own business. Like, these are all things that you had to do scared. Like, how did you get through that fear to do these things?
You just got to take the leap. You know, I think sometimes we work ourselves up so much and we're like, oh my God, I can't. We paralyze ourselves with fear, right? And then what happens when you actually do that thing? You're like, oh, that wasn't so bad, right? It's never as bad as we think it's going to be. And again, where does that start? It starts with our thoughts, right? Remember I said that earlier. It all starts with your thoughts, right? So of course I was fearful before I went on TV, but you know, I love the acronym for fear, and I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. It's false evidence appearing real. Right. So when I feel fearful about something, I'm like, okay, well, Trudy, you're fearful about this. That just means you need more information. Right. So I go and I gather my information. So always remember that when you're fearful about something, it's just because you need more information, right? So, okay, I was going to have my TV appearance. So what can I do to prepare for my TV appearance? I can make sure that, you know, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I can make sure that, you know, I'm talking about things that are really going to benefit people in that moment, right? So it's just going and just gathering all of that information so that you can eliminate that fear. But I'm telling you, take the leap, because if you don't, you're always going to wonder, what if? You don't want to wake up one day and be 85 years old and think, what if? What if I had tried that business? What if I had reached out to that guy first? And I reached out to Danny first. Hello, we'll get back to that in a minute. What if I didn't reach out? You know, what if I reached out to that guy first? Could we have been married now? Right? So guys, don't let fear hold you back. Fear just means you need more information. Go out and get that information. Take the leap. Do it.
Yes.
And if you don't succeed at that thing that you do, that's okay. Because again, guess what? You've gathered that information.
Yeah, yeah. Dr. Vibe, what's up? Trudy's completely right. She met the love of her life. I mean, this is a whole other, we'll have to talk about this some other time. Like, we don't have enough time to even talk about everything that we got to talk about. But the whole way that we met was crazy. It's a whole other story. We might share that on another live sometime. But, you know, talk a little bit about, like, how did you know that you were ready for, you know, meeting me after you had been with all these other knuckleheads and dudes that were just trash?
All knuckleheads.
They weren't me. So like, because sometimes women get scorned by a relationship and they just,
right.
You know, they can't get ready. They can't make themselves ready for the next guy, and they carry a lot of that baggage. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, like, being from a woman's perspective, and then I can talk about it from a men's perspective.
Yeah, I had to check my baggage, right? Check your bag. That's what it was. And what do I mean by that? I couldn't carry baggage from a previous relationship into a new relationship. Each new relationship is exactly that. It's a new relationship. It's a new person. You can't carry your baggage from the past. Yes, you need to learn from your past, but you can't carry it forward and hold that person accountable because of things that happened to you in the past, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I would say there. And sorry, you asked me something else, and I lost.
No, just like how, like, that's what it was. Like, how you kind of shifted that mindset from, like, the last couple relationships just didn't work. So how did you kind of be like, okay, I'm ready for the next one? And you just said it. You left the baggage there. You started fresh with every person that you talked to. And then that's how you got ready to meet me.
Yeah. And, you know, there's something else I want to say there too. So before Danny, like, I've had, you know, of course, there was other people I dated before him. You know, to be honest, like, I was in a relationship where there was abuse as well. And for sure, like, I could have stopped and not wanted to give my heart to somebody else again. But I wanted to put myself out there again because I wanted that. I wanted that so badly for myself. Right. And the thing about that as well is that I took the time to be alone before I found Danny. And I don't think that if I didn't give myself that space to really learn about me, who I am, what I want, what my standards were, what I would tolerate, what I wouldn't tolerate, if I didn't take that time to really understand that within myself, I don't think I would have been ready for Danny. I don't think the universe would have given me Danny. So I was single probably for about, I think maybe a year and a half before I had met Danny, like after my previous relationship. And to be honest, that was a part of my life where all of my friends were getting married. All my friends were in long-term relationships. All of them were married. And I was like, okay, when is it going to be my time? And it was like, okay, well, until it's my time, let me just work on me. I went out to movies by myself. Like, I would go out to dinners by myself. Like, I didn't want to give my time to somebody that was not worthy of my time. And that's not to say that, like, I'm like the hottest shit ever. It's just,
no, you are. You're definitely the hottest shit for sure. Definitely.
Aww.
Yeah, listen. So Trudy and I have been married for 6 years, coming up soon. And we've been together for like 13 years or whatever. And, you know, one of the things too is that, you know, when she said she wasn't ready for, or that she had to get ready to be in another relationship, it was the same with me. I wasn't even really trying to be in a relationship at that time. I wasn't trying to deal with women at all. I was just like, I was tired, right? I was just like, whatever. And so the same way that she was kind of just cool with being herself, I was cool with being myself. I was taking time with myself. I would just travel. You know, thing about me is I'm an adventurous person. So I would just like hop on the train and go to some park somewhere and go to some festival by myself. And, you know, obviously I would catch up with friends. But I think that's really important, that a lot of us are so in a rush to be in a relationship that we don't even really take time with ourselves, right? We don't even really take time to understand who we are and what we want. And Trudy and I were talking about this earlier. You know, you have to be clear about what you want, like what you want in all areas of your life, why it's so important to you, and then the how is going to come later. And right. I think what we're both saying is we both focused on what I want. We both focused on what we want in our lives and really took time to understand ourselves and understand why that was important. And then once we made it clear that, like, okay, I know who I am, I know what I deserve, then the right person showed up, which was right. Her. Trudy showed up for me and I showed up for her. So
Right.
I think it's really important that we spend time with ourselves. A lot of people don't like to spend time with themselves. They don't
Mm-hmm.
like to think about where they are. And when you avoid that, you're always going to end up in situations where you're not living to the best of your ability. You're not becoming the best version of yourself because you're hiding from everything.
Right. Right.
Um, Dr. Vibe said, congratulations.
Thanks, Dr.
He said, sorry, I'm late. Mrs. Stone dropping knowledge. Dr. Vibe said, how did you both ready for marriage? So we have been dating for a while,
Long time.
for some years. Calm down. We've been dating for a few years. And this is the thing about being on your own time. See, this is the thing. You can't compare yourself to other people. A lot of our friends have been married for years before we did. A lot of friends bought houses before we did. A lot of friends bought cars before we did. And we were always on our own timeline. So people would be like to us, like, yeah, we got our house out here. You guys plan on buying a house? We're like, when we're ready. Yeah, I got my new car. You know, when you guys get, when I'm ready, right? We're married. When you guys get married? When we're ready. And so what happened was we decided we were living together. Obviously, we were in love with each other, but we decided that we wanted to buy a house first because so many of our friends had bought houses, had gotten married, and then had no place to live. Moved in their parents' basement. One of them, basement wasn't even done. So we decided we wanted to buy a house first. We bought the house in Toronto, which a lot of people thought was crazy. They're like, how can you guys afford a house in Toronto? And we were like, don't worry about our pocketbook. We're good. And then, and then we decided that it was time to get married. And so we did it on our own terms, right? It wasn't about, Trudy probably would have liked to get married, you know, a little bit sooner, I'm sure. But I'm happy the way it turned out. I don't know about you. Are you happy the way that we kind of did it or no?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because it was so important for us to, and for me as well, to own a house because my parents had owned a house years ago, but then after they split up, like we lost the house. And I was very young. I was like maybe 3 years old at that time, right? So owning a house, owning real estate was always very, very important to me. And I was concerned that if Danny and I had gotten married first and spent all this money on a wedding, it would take us so much longer to actually get the house, right? So I thought, okay, let's get the house first, right? And my mom was not happy about this. Mama Joyce was not having it, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm like, let's get the house first, right? And then we can get married. I knew Danny wasn't going anywhere. Danny knew I wasn't going anywhere, right? So let's get the house first and then we can get married. So we did it on our own time. Yeah, again, there was a lot of pressure because a lot of people around us were getting married or had been married at that time, but it was so important for us to do it on our own time. And the house and having a home was an important piece of us starting our life together.
Yeah, and this is where it became really important to us to have a house because, like Trudy said, her parents had a house when she was young, and then they lost the house when she was 3 or 4. My mom we never owned a house. We grew up in low-income housing. I never had my own bedroom until I went away to university. And this is where perspective is really interesting. So I used to think, okay, you know, I grew up in low-income housing. I would never own a home, right? But years later, I realized, wait a minute, my grandparents, which is my mother's parents, immigrated to Canada from Jamaica. They bought a duplex, rented out one side, and lived in the other side. And so for me, my whole life, I was growing up thinking like, you know, I never knew anybody who owned a home. I never knew people who had investment properties because I was always looking at me, how I grew up in low-income housing. But then I'm like, I used to go visit my grandmother every weekend. I used to be out there helping her in the garden and helping her with the house. And then I realized, wait a minute, home ownership is possible for me because my grandparents had it and it was tough for them. They were immigrants from Jamaica. So it just goes to show that like a lot of things that happen in our life are really about perspective, right? Mm-hmm. How do you choose to look at that? Do you choose to look at that as something that's negative that you carry around like this badge that this is the reason I can't own a home, or this is the reason I'll never be in a great relationship, or this is the reason that I'll never own my own business? Or do you look at that as like a learning opportunity? Mm-hmm. And so for both of us, we knew we have to own a home. It was something that was super important to both of us. And I think this is important as a couple. What are your relationship goals? What do you want to happen in your relationship? Where do you want to go, or where do you want to grow as a couple? And a lot of people don't have those conversations, but Trudy and I have those conversations all the time. This is what we want in terms of our investments, and in terms of what we want, in terms of how we interact with each other, date nights every month, and all these kinds of things. So I think that's really, really important. What do you think about that, babe?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I would say for sure, like we communicate with each other really, really well. And I think we did that like right from the beginning. And again, that was also something, and maybe that was because I also put that out in the universe, that that's what I really wanted in a partner. I really wanted to be with somebody that I could communicate with and I could have dialogues with. And the conversations are not always easy. Like Danny and I have had a lot of hard conversations. You know, he checks me on my shit, I check him on his shit. Like, so don't think that we're all happy and
It's not
all the time.
We
like,
have arguments, fights.
Right. Yeah. And that's an important part of, you know, helping each other grow and to push each other. Right. I'm not going to lie to Danny. Like if I see him doing something, like I'm not going to lie to him. Be like, yeah, okay, that, you know, whatever. No, I'm going to push him. Like even as his wife-ager, as I like to call it, with certain aspects of his business, like he'll ask me for advice and I'll give it to him, and I'll give him very constructive feedback. Like, I don't like that graphic. Take that down. Like
He does. He definitely does.
You know, so yeah, so I think that's really important, just to have that communication. And sometimes, you know, the tough conversations are not always easy, but I feel like the tough conversations are the most meaningful conversations that really help you guys to, you know, bond on a deeper, much deeper level.
Thanks, babe. That was good. Dr. Vibe said both of you have a home, not a house. Dr. Vibe, he also asked this question, babe. He said, you know, how is it, I think he said, is it easy for both of you to have relationships with people who are single, divorced, or separated?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I have some amazing girlfriends that are single. We have an amazing relationship, and I think that's because like Danny and I, like, of course we love spending time with each other, but we also love spending time with our friends as well. Like that's an important, you know, part of who we are, right? So yeah, having single friends, not an issue. I love my single friends. I learn a lot from my single friends. I live through my single friends.
Wait. Wait a minute. Wait.
Whoa.
You're married to a handsome, intelligent man.
Okay, that didn't come out right.
You better calm down with that right now. I'm going to tell you. Listen. So the thing is, too, I mean, what's really interesting is that the people don't understand this about us. We have literally gone to the same club. She's gone with her friends. I've gone with my friends. We saw each other, went, kissed, said, what's up? And then we never talked again till the end of the night. Yeah. And a lot of her friends are like, I don't understand that. You guys are on top of each other. I'm going with my friends. She's out with her friends. We have a good time. We leave together at the end of the night. And I think that's really important, especially both of us being business owners, both of us working from home. Like sometimes she's upstairs working and I'm downstairs, and we won't even talk to each other until maybe lunchtime, 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes, because we need our space. And I think that's important. When you're in a relationship, you don't have to be with the person 24/7. Every decision that you make doesn't have to be with that person. I mean, maybe that's what you do, but this works for us. We have our own space. We come together. We can both go to the same place and be with our friends separately, come together later on. And that's what's made our relationship work for the last 13 years, right?
Right.
Dr. Vibe said you are both each other's soulmates and helpmates. I love that. I love it, brother. Thank you. So look, True, we got 5 minutes left.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys want us to keep going. This is going to shut down in 5 minutes, but if you want us to keep going, let me know. If not, that's cool. If you want us to keep going, give me a thumbs up, a heart, or whatever. If not, that's okay. We can shut this down. But True, before we do get shut down, tell everybody about your boot camp and yeah, tell them about it. We got about 4 minutes left.
So I'm hosting the Mind Your Body Bootcamp. It starts on Monday, so you want to save your spot because spots are flying away. I was just looking at it here, and 3 people signed up since I've been on this live. But the Mind Your Body Bootcamp is all about, again, similar to the podcast, getting your mind right so that your body will follow. So if you've had, you know, a real struggle trying to achieve your ideal weight, if you struggle with overeating, if you struggle with food cravings, it all comes down to those triggers and those beliefs that you have about yourself. So in the Mind Your Body Bootcamp, we're going to help you to kind of unravel all of that so that eating healthier becomes so much easier. And really, this is the starting point. This is the foundation. A lot of people are like, okay, I'm going to go buy the celery. I'm going to buy the carrots. I'm going to buy all these things. But you're not getting your mind right. You can have all the celery and the kale and all that stuff you want, but If you don't take care of the stuff that's going on in here, that celery is going to stay in your fridge and rot. Right? I'm sure some of you right now are laughing because you probably bought a whole bunch of produce that's sitting right now going around, right? Right. So that's what the Mind Your Body Bootcamp is all about. Again, it's all about getting your mind right so that your body will follow. And I'm telling you, this is like the easiest way to do it.
How did they get where did they have to go?
Just go to www. You have to put the www in, but mindyourbodybootcamp.com. And the link is also in my profile if you want to check it there. And it's $27. It's like less than the cost of a takeout meal.
Listen,
and
I didn't even want her to do it.
Bombs in there.
I'm gonna tell you guys crazy. Like so Trudy knows so much about health and wellness, right? And a lot of us don't want to. It's a really weird subject for us. Like a lot of us know we have to be healthier, but it's a weird subject for us. Like we get icky talking about it and all that kind of stuff. But one thing that I realized, somebody who was working 20 hours a day for 4 years. I only used to get 4.5 hours sleep for almost 4 years. No word of a lie. I realized that your health and your wellness and what you eat and all that stuff is so important. There's no way I could have did that if I wasn't eating healthy. And so I think it's really important for a lot of us to take control of our health. Now, Trudy's going to help with that with this boot camp. It's going to be dope. But my whole thing was I didn't even want her to do it for $27. I think the program should be like $200 minimum. But she's passionate about this. She loves doing it. And so if you're somebody who knows that right now you need to take control of your health, you have to have this tough conversation with yourself. Because I had to do that. I was like 45 pounds overweight. I used to have to have this really tough conversation with myself. Luckily, I met Trudy, so she's the one that kind of got me into eating healthier. But if that's you guys need to check it out. I mean, $27 is ridiculous. But
yeah,
check it out.
Trainings. It's a 3-day boot camp. There's daily life trainings. So you're going to have me, and you don't need anything fancy. If you have a Facebook account, that's all you need because all the training is in the Facebook group, the private Facebook group. So there's daily trainings every single day. I'm also adding in some bonus trainings as well.
We got 1 minute left. 1 minute. So you guys want to come back or no?
I can't. I got to work on the Mind Your Body boot camp.
I got things to do. All right. So thanks so much for tuning in, babe. We're going to have to do a part 2 of this. We got so many other things that we didn't cover. You guys, thanks so much for tuning in. We got about 45 seconds left. Thanks for tuning in, babe. Thanks for being on this. This week has been crazy with Let's Talk with Coach Stone. We had 3 powerful women, and I ended with the most powerful, as you guys can see. You see why I married this woman. You see it, right? So thank you guys for tuning in. I hope that you guys have an amazing weekend. I'm going to be back on Monday, and I got another special guest, an all-time favorite, a good friend and mentor, Louis March, is going to be here on Monday at 2 p.m. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks,
I'll have the replay of this up later on so you can go and watch the rewind, all right? Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks, Dr. Vibe.
Bye.